Hey, I wanted to show you my garden because gardening is a lot like what we've got to do in order to be transformed by God. So gardening is kind of a new hobby for the wife and I, and so I want to let you see kind of how it's going, gardening. Hey, so that was just a quick little overview of my garden. Gardening is fun. It's challenging, and it's a learning curve for me. But it's a lot like what God wants to do for us, which involves a learning curve. It's a learning curve to recognize that if I want to be changed, transformed is the word that we've been looking at, metamorphosis. In our text in Luke, when Jesus was transformed before the disciples, the transfiguration, metamorphosis, same word that's used in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed. There it is, metamorphosis, metamorpho, which we get our word metamorphosis, changed, like a caterpillar to a butterfly, changed. James Allen, in his beautiful little book, As a Man Thinketh, says, man's mind is like a garden, which can be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth, each to its own kind. If no useful seeds are placed into it, then an abundance of useless weed seed will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Interesting little quote, isn't it? Man's mind is like a garden. I got all kinds of stuff in my garden. I got some squash right behind me. I've got yellow squash. I got spaghetti squash. I got zucchini. I've got peppers of every kind. I've got cucumbers. I've got a tomatillo plant over my right shoulder. I got tomatoes in every corner of the garden. I got lots of good stuff going on here. I got snap peas and green beans. Lots of good stuff going on. And every day, there's a little bit of work that has to be done. One, I'm warding off insects, right? All kinds of natural products to kind of, keep things from eating away at the good produce, the good crop that I want to do, right? We looked not too long ago at Jesus saying that the spiritual life, the person, is like soil, and God wants to put seed into our soil. He wants to put seed into our thoughts. But you and I have got to take some responsibility. Responsibility to recognize I've got to change my thoughts. I got to do some weeding, some stuff that needs to be pulled out of the way I think in order to be changed. Here's the deal. The power of change, right? We've looked at the pattern of Christ's connection, and the power of change brought about by Christ always takes place in our thoughts. If your thoughts are not changing, you are not changing. If your belief system isn't changing, you're not changing. If the stories you tell yourself, your thoughts, are not changing, you're not changing. I love Ephesians chapter 3, verse 13. Beautiful passage. The Apostle Paul is praying. He says, I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power, same idea, dunamis, same word as in our idea of what Jesus does in us, changes us with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. I pray that you being rooted, there's the growth part, there's the garden part, you being rooted in his love may grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, that you may grasp the surpassing knowledge of the love of God. He says that his love surpasses our knowledge, but he prays that we would know it more. So what is it? Knowing it, but it surpasses knowledge? He's saying, I want you not just to have information, I want you to experience transformation. I want you not just to have intellectual knowledge, I want you to have experiential knowledge. As we begin to experience Jesus, the way that has power to change us is when my thoughts meet his thoughts, and his thoughts win the day. Power of change happens when my thoughts meet God's thoughts, and his thoughts win. Today, I want to just challenge you. Where do you need to submit thoughts? The stories you're telling yourself about God or about others or about yourself, where do they need to change to match God's thoughts? In Isaiah, it says, Isaiah 55 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Oh, who will save us from this wretched man that we are? God does. He is the one that can help us change our thoughts. Today, maybe bring before the Lord, Lord, where do you need to change my thoughts of others? God, where have I thought more like the world and less like your word? Where have I conformed more to culture than I have to Christ? Because when we begin to conform and be transformed to Christ, he changes us from the inside out. Today, be changed. Be changed. Recognize your mind is like a garden. What are you planting? What are you pulling? God bless you. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.